Most of what you call love is actually fear wearing good manners. Hi, welcome to the Coming Home to You Sparkcast, the embodied leader. This is a space for soul-led women, especially mamas, who are here, done, outsourcing their authority and ready to come home to themselves. This month, we're exploring sovereignty as love. And today we're starting with the mind because sovereignty doesn't begin in your circumstances. Let's be honest. It begins in how you think, how you choose, how you trust yourself. Have you ever noticed how often love asks you to stay agreeable, stay quiet, or stay small? Have you even ever felt pressure to be understanding, even when something in you already knew it wasn't true for you? Have you ever confused keeping the peace with being loving? Yes, I noticed this in myself too, when I kept questioning myself. I wanted to be understood. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be seen. And oftentimes I would bend over backwards. I would over explain. I would even start questioning my truth, my reality. I thought that by keeping the peace, being a people pleaser, sacrificing my truth, my needs, my wants, was being loving. But the truth is that I was abandoning myself. No wonder. No wonder why now, at the age that I am, I didn't even know who I was and that's why I didn't know what I wanted, because I didn't know who I was anymore. Does this sound like you? If this resonates, it's because your body already knows the truth. I was being blamed and shamed just by being me. And it started in early childhood. So I was conditioned right away to play small, to dim my light, to keep the peace so that I wouldn't get in trouble. And then I realized that confusion, I was so confused. Like I would sit there and go, why does how I feel about myself inside not reflect the vision and the person that people are describing? Well, because I was not speaking my truth. And the truth is energy does not lie. So even though your words can lie and your actions can be not so forthcoming, energy, the energy people pick up on, that cannot be faked or forced. And I thought I was flawed, but I'm realizing that confusion isn't a flaw. It's a signal that I'm not in alignment. I'm not being truthful. I'm not speaking my truth. And I heard something just this week in a workshop that I was in with that my a friend of mine was hosting. And they said, what if you speaking your truth is actually more loving, is showing more love for them? And that totally resonated with me because I remember even saying when I was in these leadership containers and personal development containers with coaches and mentors, I was like, wow, I can now show up in my truth because I feel safe and I feel seen. And all it took was for you to call me out on my BS. All it took for you was to lovingly call me forward because I was repeating a pattern, a false identity. No wonder why I feel so disconnected to my dreams, my desires, my wants, my passions, my joy. Does this sound like you? So confusion often comes from abandoning your own perception, believing others' ideas, others' beliefs, others' stories about you. So where in your life have you been overriding your own, what you already know, right? That's the question to ask. Have you ever realized how much mental and emotional energy goes into explaining yourself? Oh my gosh, defending your choices, justifying your needs, trying to be understood. Is that you? Because, we want to, I wanted to, the way it showed up for me where I caught this pattern was like, this is showing up in my family. This is showing up in my children. This is showing up with my husband. This is showing up with my friends. This is showing up, with people I don't know. Well, yeah, the only common denominator is me. You are always you with you. Is that English? Did I just speak English? So for me, I was waiting for someone to show up to rescue me, to validate me. And I kept outsourcing my authority, my power. I kept giving it away. And then I wondered why I felt so powerless, so hopeless, so broken. So when I started to do the work, it started with small self-care, self-love actions. I would wake up in the morning, and before I even got out of bed, before I even opened my eyes, I would say, I'm loving, I'm brave, I am worthy, I'm enough, and in the beginning, I think there was a part of me that didn't really believe it because I was so conditioned to believe all the limiting stories about how I was not enough, how I'm a burden, I can never get things right. I'm always going to say something that is going to upset somebody. So it's best for me just to kind of not be out in the world because I don't know when I'm going to upset somebody. And I don't want to upset people. Like the person I thought I was inside did not match my life outside. I was like, why do I feel that I'm not this person that everybody else is experiencing? Because inside I felt loving, generous, kind, giving, empathetic, compassionate. Well, yeah, when I started outsourcing my validation, I would do anything, anything to be liked and to be fit in. I would do anything, even abandon myself, even give away my power. So sovereignty begins in the moment that you stop outsourcing your authority. So where in your life are you spending more time and energy proving over choosing? Have you ever noticed that self-trust isn't something you decide once? It's something you practice. So when I started doing the self-care rituals, it would be every morning, it would be every night. I would write it in the mirror. I would do post-it notes. I would write post-it notes. I would put meditation, affirmation, audio before I went to bed. I would put them on in the morning. All these little things were devotional. And it took time. I got to be honest. It took time because my nervous system, my mind was already programmed to believe that I wasn't enough, that I'm broken, that I'm never going to get it right, that people abandon me, that if If nobody liked me, then that means that I am not a good person. But I noticed that over time, I started trusting myself. My nervous system was quiet enough to feel safer. Not safe, but safer. Safer to choose myself. And I started choosing myself in the small moments, usually the small moments that nobody applauds, nobody pays attention to, that almost feel like they're insignificant. But what that did was it started giving me permission to be a yes for me. And what I didn't know then was that I was taking back my power. I was reclaiming my sovereignty. I had to actually look up what the word sovereignty meant because I was like, I have a general idea of what it means, but I didn't really know what it meant. So I looked it up before I did this episode because I was like, okay, we're talking about sovereignty. What does it truly mean? Definition. Sometimes looking up the actual literal definition of something helps you ground into the meaning and the power. And words are powerful. Words are spells. That's why they call it spelling. So, what words are you telling yourself? What spells are you casting out in your life? So when I started trusting myself, it didn't come all at once. It was something that I was practicing. And I am still practicing it, and I will always still be practicing it. Because life is not a one and done. Healing is not a one and done. Leadership is not a one and done. It is a devotional practice. And it's built in the small imperfect moments that you choose yourself anyway. And it's not easy at first, but once you start doing it, you start trusting yourself more. You're like, I didn't die. Nothing bad happened. If anything, you start to actually feel better because you're in alignment with your truth. And so if it's going to go bad, it's going to go wrong anyway, then might as well choose your truth. Be in your power. And I chose myself during the messy moments, the hard and messy moments. And sometimes what that looked like was taking a breath. Sometimes it looked like walking away. Sometimes it looked like not saying anything. So trust is built in repetition, not perfection. Self-care, self-love is how I started trusting myself again. What's one small choice your body already trusts you to make? Have you ever started choosing yourself and instead of peace, you felt resistance? Because it's going to happen. People get uncomfortable. The energy shifts. And then you start wondering, am I even doing this right? Am I doing something wrong? No. The answer is no. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just you have conditioned people how to treat you and how to be with you. You have conditioned them by being how you be. So now that you're actually choosing yourself, reclaiming your authority, self-care, like I've been accused of being selfish because now I'm finally doing the self-care. And that looks like going for a walk. That looks like maybe not doing the dishes that night because I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I just want to sit down. I started learning how to listen to my body. Your body speaks to you so loudly. Sometimes it whispers, but when you stop listening to your body when it whispers, it's going to speak loudly. And sometimes that can come like a headache. That sometimes that can come as a backache. Sometimes that can come as falling down and breaking your ankle. Because somehow your body is going to be like, stop, stop, listen, get back in alignment, choose yourself again. So here's what I want you to consider. What if friction isn't a sign you're off track, but a sign that an old identity is dissolving? And one of the things that gave me my power back was realizing that I'm always going to be me. My trainer said people don't change. People don't change. You just get to choose how to show up and to shift. And it looks messy in the beginning because you have been habitually you for how many years now? So just like with any other new habit, it's going to take time. It's going to take practice. It's going to take uh, uh, a devotion, like devotion to that practice. So have grace. Give yourself, be patient. Give yourself grace. It's an act of love, choosing yourself, choosing your truth, not that version of you that everybody expects you to be, that you know in your heart of hearts that you're not. So people even started noticing that when I chose myself and I started this healing, and I had so many epiphanies along the way, and then I still felt like I was resorting back to my old pattern. Because yes, it's a pattern. But every time I interrupt the pattern, every time I get curious and I go, oh, there it is again. Awareness is key. But awareness without action or embodiment is nothing. So every time it happens, I was like, oh, there it is again. And I don't judge myself. I get curious only. And I'm neutral about it. And I say, huh, what was that about? Did did it come from me not being honest? Did I say yes when I didn't mean yes, when it was in a full body yes? Because oftentimes we say yes to things that we know we don't want to do. And so that's not alignment. That's not being in alignment and that's not being honest, obviously. I call it the dirty yes. And oftentimes, yes, when you don't want to do something and you say yes anyway, there's a reason why in your body it's a no, because your intuition and your truth already knows what's in alignment. And so you're going to find friction, you're going to have issues, you're going to have problems. For instance, I was just last night, I was wanting to be in a place where I wanted support. I was like, I got this. Even though I'm sick, I was like, I got this. Let me handle it. I'll take care of all of that. You take care of yourself. Go do what you got to do because I know you are tired and I know that you have a lot going on. So just go take care of yourself. And this person didn't want to listen. They were like, no, I'll do this. I'll do this. I'll do this. They were people pleasing, maybe. I don't know what it was they were doing, but they ended up hurting themselves. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, you probably would not have hurt yourself if you would just have not have done it out of feeling like like I should do this. How many times do you feel like you should do this, should do that, should be better off, should be, uh, you know, at a job, I should be further along in life? Well, first of all, I want to say we get to stop shooting all over ourselves. And that is an expectation of how you expect to show up. So you get to question yourself, even though it felt right. Question yourself when your full body, if sometimes people need to pause before they respond to a request. Sometimes people need to process whatever that looks like for you. Honor that voice. It's your intuition, it's your truth speaking to you first. It's like, wait, I want to be a yes to people, please. I want to say yes and help you because I want to look good. But if it's not really a full body yes, if it's a dirty yes, then things are going to show up Things are going to happen to be like, ooh, yeah, this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been a yes. I should have really listened to my intuition. This is why. So when I realized that my old false identity was dissolving, it was empowering, but it was scary because I heard a quote yesterday that your nervous system will always choose the familiar hell over choosing an unknown heaven. Something like that. Hear that again. Your nervous system is always going to choose the familiar hell over choosing an unfamiliar heaven. Holy crap. Is that you? That was me. That's still me in so many ways, in so many parts of my life up until now. So resistance isn't always a sign you're wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that you're no longer available for an old role. So what if friction you're feeling isn't a problem, but a transition of old patterns dissolving? Have you ever noticed that as you grow, you say less, not because you're shrinking, but because you no longer need to convince? Woo, that's discernment. And that's discernment as sovereignty. Uh, Silence is a conscious choice. When you silence yourself without abandoning your truth, pausing and saying, am I adding value? Am I trying to prove myself? Am I trying to explain myself to be understood? So have you noticed? I've said pause multiple times. Yes, we are so programmed. I don't know. I should say me. I was so programmed to react to the world because I didn't want people to abandon me. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to fit in and belong and feel good enough. So I would always be like, but that's not what I meant. And I'm sitting here like literally monologuing to be understood. But sovereignty and discernment and embodied leadership doesn't need explaining, over explaining. It just needs presence. And what that looks like is sometimes taking a breath and going, saying one thing once, hey, I'm not available for this conversation right now. I see how that can be true for you, and walk away. But do it with love. I think I want to stress that again. Do it with love. I love how people were like, well, I'm speaking my truth. Yeah, but you're being a brat about it. And I meant to say the other B word, but I said brat because I want to keep this non-explicit. So, are you being loving when you share your truth? When my coaches and my mentors and my cohort who are going through this leadership with me, when they lovingly called me forward and told me like how they were experiencing me in the moments, it was hard to hear. But I knew that they came their come from was from the heart. Their come from was that they were not enrolled in my smallness, in my limiting story. So I realized that explaining doesn't equal needing the over explaining was me needing to be heard, seen, and approved. And now that I validate myself, now that I take back my authority, that's what sovereignty looks like, is having authority of your truth, taking back power of what is right and real for you, and not needing other people to validate you, not needing other people to say, oh, you did it good. Oh, look, yes, that was amazing. Over explaining was tied to people pleasing. And now I'm like, energy doesn't lie. So it's like I just stand in my power and I say, I'm not available to abandon myself right now, to be liked or to be seen or heard. I don't need to be heard anymore because I hear myself. I know my truth. Ooh, somebody needed to hear that out there today. If you get chills, if you yawned just now, that was for you, my friend. So go deep in that because I just felt someone really needed to hear that. So remember that authority doesn't have to be forced. It really is about you landing quietly in your truth. And when I started trusting myself, when I started doing the self-care to trust myself, I started hearing and remembering my truth. I started hearing and remembering that I am worthy, that my value is not attached to my accomplishments or to how many times I say yes or um, quiet myself to keep the peace. And I realized I didn't have to defend myself anymore. Oh, I felt free. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to defend myself anymore because everybody has perspective. Everybody has their own perspective lenses on, and they're going to judge you based on what their beliefs are. So it has nothing to do with you to begin with, most of the time. What other people think about you is none of your business anyway. And what helped me was when things would happen and I would say something and it would not be received, I would echo in my head, this is not about me. This is not about me. It's not about me. Because if I knew that my come from was honesty, love, and my truth, then how that person receives it really has nothing to do with me. And I will sit here and I can, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you took it that way. That's not what I meant at all. If you're open for that conversation, let's have that conversation. But I'm no longer available for you pointing, shaming, blaming, attacking. I'm no longer available for that. And that's what sovereignty looks like. So the more I trust myself, the quieter I become. Not because I have less to say, but because I no longer need to prove what I see, hear, or feel, or know. So where might silence be an act of self-respect for you right now? Have you ever considered that choosing yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, might actually be an act of love? It is. Not harsh love, honest love. Love that doesn't abandon itself. I was always so afraid of people abandoning me. So I was like, I need to love harder. I need to love harder. But what I wasn't doing wasn't loving myself. What I wasn't doing was taking the time to love myself because I was every time I abandoned myself, I told myself that I'm not worthy of love. And so I was experiencing that because that's how I was treating myself. And when I started loving myself and respecting myself, I noticed that I started experiencing the world treating me and loving me. Interesting. And one of the things that I noticed too was when it was hard and heavy, one of the things that felt like a superpower, and it still feels like a superpower, is being in my joy. Rollerblading, dancing, being with my children, hanging out with my friends, being in collaboration with the beautiful women that I have in my community. Those bring me joy, and it started lifting the heaviness in my body. It started lifting so much of the noise that was still in my head. It got to the point where even people were like, "You look different. What have you done? Oh my, you seem different. There's just a different energy about you. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something different about you." It's like, yeah, I came back home to myself. Thanks for noticing. Like I've heard so many people in the healing industry, coaches and and teachers and all those, they say like people's actual physical bodies shift when they heal, when they come back home to themselves, to their truth. Because we spend so much time in the lower frequencies that literally gravity is heavy on us. So we start aging, energy is like, gravity is all, "Arr!" But when you go in your joy and your love and gratitude, that energy is actually higher vibration. And we're all energy. So when you start raising your vibration, it quite literally starts raising you. And everybody was like, I don't know what you did, girl, but you look good. I was like, I did nothing. All I did was choose myself today in every little moment. And I'm still choosing myself today. And it still looks messy. I still don't get it right all the time. And that's okay. Because I'm flexing a new muscle. So choosing joy is a practice, not a bypass. Joy is not a reward. It's a choice. And you can choose joy in all the little things. You can choose joy in any moment. Like I was literally sipping this ginger tea and I was like, oh, this ginger tea is so good. It's bringing me so much joy. The fact that I'm even speaking joy into this cup is bringing joy into my body as a frequency. You don't have to believe that for it to be true, by the way, but it is. So there's courage moving with the fear. I was afraid. I was like, oh my gosh, what if people are gonna like me if I actually start speaking myself and not people pleasing anymore? But in that moment, I was like, I need to do something different because what I've been doing up until now is not working. So sovereignty is love with a backbone. And if you knew didn't need permission, what choice would become obvious for you? If you knew you didn't need permission, what choice in your life would become obvious? I want you to share in the notes, share in the comments, email me if you, or tell a friend, or journal it. Do something. Do something different today. If this is landing, it's not because I'm telling you something you don't know. It's because this isn't my story. It's a human one. And every time I'm in a room and somebody shares their story and what they go through and how their childhood was, or how they are in their relationship, I was like, oh my gosh, she is speaking my story. Like there's never been someone who shares their truth that I have never been like, oh, that I don't resonate with that. No, that's never happened to me. There's always a part of me that goes, oh, that landed. Wow, that person's going that just like me, just like me. And I realized like, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. So you don't become sovereign by getting it right. You become sovereign by choosing yourself, especially in the hard moments, especially in the little moments, especially when no one is looking. And the moment that you stop outsourcing your authority, you don't become louder. You become clearer. So what do you already know? What are you done explaining? Where are you ready to trust yourself again, even if it's quietly? If this episode cracked something open inside you, maybe you felt seen, heard, or not alone, I ask you, subscribe, share, comment, like, invite a sister to watch it with you. Next week, we're going to talk about sovereignty in the body and what it looks like in the body, what it feels like in the body. So remember, you're exactly where you're meant to be, and you are enough just as you are. You matter. I am Margarita Rose, your host, here with the Coming Home to You Sparkcast, the Embodied Leaders series. Until next week, we'll see you same time, same Spark channel. Be well.